Okay, so as we know, we have Kat and Grace joining us from the Ripley's Aquarium of Canada. So Kat is an aquarist at the aquarium for about 4 years now, and she is in charge of caring for Petunia, who is one of the resident octopus that we have. And then we also have Grace, who is an educator at the aquarium, who's going to be telling us all about the awesome stuff we can learn from the octopus and all the awesome facts. And we're going to be watching her get fed today. So Grace, it's all you. Take it away.
All right, I'm good to go?
Yeah, you're good to go.
Okay. Hi, guys. My name is Grace. I'm one of the educators at the aquarium. Sorry, the sound is sounding a bit strange. Give me 1 sec. Okay, let's try that. All right, so I'm here at our Giant Pacific Octopus tank with one of our aquarists. This is Kat. And today we're going to be talking to you guys a little bit about our octopus. So this lovely lady right in here, this is Petunia. And she is a Giant Pacific Octopus. All right, so what Kat is going to be doing today is doing some enrichment training with her. And she's going to be kind of splashing the water a little bit to try to get her attention. But it looks like she's already very excited, so I'm going to show you guys her. That's Petunia right over there. So this is how Kat gets her attention. So she's got her nice target there with the stripes, and she splashes the water to let her know it's coming in. And she's going to hold it nice and still, and Petunia is going to come on over and check out the target. So the idea with this is that she's supposed to grab onto the target, and she gets rewarded with positive reinforcement. So it's the same idea. If you clean your room or get really good grades, your parents might be really happy with you. You'll get some sort of reward. So we're going to head back over here. And we'll give her some blocks. There's some shrimp in there. Nice. So there's some shrimp in those blocks, and Petunia is going to get to play with them a little bit. So the idea with this is that she is supposed to break apart the blocks and get the food out. So I'm not sure how much you guys know about octopodes, but they are very, very intelligent and are very good at solving puzzles. So to keep them nice and occupied and keep them nice and happy in captivity, we give them a lot of different toys, basically to just try and mentally stimulate them. So she's got a whole bunch of blocks on this side here she's going to get to play with, which is pretty fun. And she has a whole variety of other toys. You can see them all in the bucket here. She's got some nice little rings here. And a little ball and her nice little duck she likes to break apart. This is my favorite one. Kat, do you have a favorite toy for Petunia?
I'm a huge fan of the duckies too, but the classic octopus opening a jar is still a favorite.
Yes, so octopus are able to open a jar. So as you guys probably know, octopus have 8 arms. And they're really good at using them, and they are very smart, so they are able to open jars as well as a variety of other objects given the time. So normally with this enclosure, we do have the lid actually shut down, and there are quite a few clips because octopus are very smart and they might decide to try to go for a walk and see what else is out around them. So they do have to make sure that it is fully shut. And you can see all her little suckers along her arms here are grabbing onto the blocks.
She stole the pole from
Oh, and she stole the pole from Kat as well. You can see that right over here. Yes, Petunia does have quite a little attitude. She tends to be very sassy, and she likes to mess with Kat a little bit. She likes to splash her quite a bit as well. That's one of her favorite activities. Do you find that different octopus have different personalities?
Totally, 100%.
Yeah, so we do have another octopus at the aquarium, and he's the one that's out on display. We call him Ivar the Boneless. All octopodes don't have bones, they are invertebrates. But Ivar has a very impressive sounding name. There we go. You can see that Petunia really likes to hold on to catch. So that's what octopus like to do sometimes.
I took her pole.
She took her pole, and that was kind of her revenge. In a nice way. They are friends, but you know, she's sassy. So Petunia is a pretty young octopus, so she's between about 6 months and 1 year old. And she's the newest octopus we have at the aquarium. Ivar, the one that we have here, is about 2 to 3 years old. They are a little bit tricky to age. We do kind of have to estimate based on size. So right now the way that it works is Petunia is in the back of the aquarium. She's kind of practicing with the aquarius, getting used to everything here, making sure she's old enough to go out on display. Once that happens, she and Ivar will actually be swapping places for a little while. Ivar right now is permanently out on display in our Canadian waters tank. And you will generally find him hiding in one of his caves. Although some days he does get very active and he likes to walk all over the place. He also gets quite a few different toys. Has Ivar worked up to any more complicated toys?
Yeah, he has a pretty complex puzzle that he has to unlock in order to get the food out of it.
Oh, that's exciting. So since octopus are so smart, they can actually kind of remember the puzzles that they've solved, and the next time they sorry, I have to be careful. So they will remember the puzzles they solved, and the next time they solve that same puzzle, they're actually going to solve it a lot faster. So you can kind of build them up that way. So you can see this one is kind of more basic. There's only 2 blocks together, and then this one has 3, so they can build up to even more of them. So
Hard to get.
it is kind of tricky to take apart. One of our fun tests with some of the octopus toys is to try to make the staff solve them and see how we do compared to Petunia. She's very, very smart. She did in fact beat one of our aquarists at solving a puzzle. So these type of octopus are typically found in pretty cold waters in the Pacific Ocean. And they're... Oh, sorry guys, I was having trouble hearing you there for a second. So they're actually found down to almost 100 meters, but have been found even deeper than that. They do tend to be fairly solitary animals, so that's why you won't tend to see our octopus together in the tank. We do keep them nice and separate, give them their own personal space. Excuse me, sorry guys. And they do like to hide in caves. They're also nocturnal predators. So they do hunt for a lot of food. They like to eat a variety of things like crabs and clams, even fish if they can get them, all sorts of little things. And the coolest thing about octopodes is they can actually change, cat's splashing me. They can actually change their skin color. So you can see right now, Petunia looks like she's a nice reddish brown color. Octopodes, as well as other cephalopods, so things like squid and cuttlefish, are actually able to change their skin color and texture, which is really good, but it makes them very good at camouflage. There's a couple good reasons for that. So you get to conserve your energy, because if you happen to look like a rock or a nice clump of seaweed or something like that, nothing's going to come up and try to eat you. But you can also hide, line, and wait for your prey to swim by you. So you can save energy that way instead of chasing things around. And that's exactly what octopodes do. So they're what we call ambush predators. So they lie in wait, and then if something happens to be swimming by or something like that, they'll kind of jump out and grab them. So it's a nice little strategy for them. But octopodes do spend the vast majority of their time sleeping. Especially as they get older, they tend to sleep a lot more. Yeah, she's very, very focused on her blocks right now, which is very exciting for her. She likes to kind of take them and hide a little bit. So where did we get Petunia from?
She came to us from British Columbia, so North Pacific Ocean.
North Pacific Ocean, nice. And I think Ivar came from around the same location as well.
Vancouverites.
Oh, Vancouverites, there we go. Nice. Yeah, so you can see that she does quite like her blocks. She does get a little bit possessive of them a little bit, but that's okay. So there are actually quite a few problems threatening our octopodes in the wild. So the way that they breed is actually they release lots of eggs into the water and then they develop into larvae. But those larvae are actually being threatened by a variety of different sources, and one of the biggest ones is pollution. We don't know exactly what about the pollution is affecting them, but it is definitely affecting the ability of the larva to grow into an adult. So it's causing some problems there. So as you can imagine, if we're having some problems with all the little baby octopus developing into adults, the population of the octopus in general is going to be going down. And that is something we definitely don't want to see. We all love our cephalopods here. One of the other biggest ones is climate change. So climate change is what we like to call a global redistribution in weather patterns. So areas that are warm might get warmer, they might get colder, they might get wetter, they might get drier. But this can cause a lot of problems for some of our creatures. Global warming is an effect from climate change, and that's just an increase in basically the entire temperature of the planet, including the oceans. Remember, octopus like to live this type of octopus likes to live in colder waters. So I don't think they would be too happy about that. And it could definitely affect their life cycle. There's still a lot we're learning about octopus, even at the aquarium. We do lots of work with them here, especially Kat. She spends a lot of time with her octopus. Well, octopodes. There's two of them. And overfishing is another really big one. So there's a lot of fishing methods in the world. Some of them are definitely better than others. Big nets in particular that are dragged along the bottom of the ocean can destroy their habitats. These guys like to be hiding in caves and in clumps of seaweed and stuff like that. And those can actually get destroyed by those nets. You might have noticed that she's turning a little bit spiky here, so she is changing her skin texture, what I was talking about earlier. Does the change in her skin texture mean anything in particular that you think?
That was in response to me splashing the water. That was kind of her way of being like, no, I'm busy right now, vanilla.
Yeah, so our octopus definitely does have, she's a sassy little beaver, little octopus.
Yeah, she's really good.
Absolutely.
There we go.
Now she feels like coming out and to say hello to everybody. So I'm not sure if you can see it. I'm going to move you guys over. But she has separated her blocks. She's finally let them go. And she got her treat out of there. So she's nice and happy. And she would like a next game. So as I mentioned, Petunia is found in our Canadian waters tank. That's one of the first ones that you walk through here at the aquarium. There's lots of other creatures.
You can watch them with the food to your mouth.
Oh yeah, so if we try and watch her, we'll be able to watch the suckers pass along the food up to her mouth. No, she didn't feel like doing that. Never mind. But her mouth is in the middle of all of the suckers. All the arms kind of lead into the middle here. And they actually have something called a beak, which is the only hard part in their body. And it's kind of like a bird's beak. So if you've seen Finding Dory, if you remember the scene where Nemo was getting eaten by some sort of squid, that's exactly what we mean when we talk about a beak. It does look quite a bit like a bird's beak. And that's what they use to eat their food. And since that's the only hard part of their body, something I forgot to mention earlier is that octopodes can actually squeeze through a very, very small hole, and they can pretty much squeeze through a hole as small as her beak. Do you know how big Petunia's beak would be right about now, if you have to guess?
Probably about that big. Very much
about
smaller
that big.
than you think.
It's a pretty small mouth, considering she's a pretty big creature. You can see her suckers kind of grabbed onto the food there. And now she's trying to eat it because it's delicious.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's great. She can see you just as well as you see her.
Absolutely.
All right, so we'll start off. I'll get one from Twitter, and then all the classes, you guys can get your questions prepared. So we'll do a Twitter question as you guys get ready. So
awesome, we're ready.
We have from Mrs. Clint's class. Does Petunia spray ink? And if she does, can she ever run out of it?
Does Petunia spray ink, and can she ever run out of it?
Very good question. So they can use ink, but only in like a life or death situation. So they're very careful about it. And she can make more, but it does take time to do so.
Okay.
I don't know if you may have to read it.
Can you guys hear that well if she says that?
I heard it, but just repeat it anyways.
Okay, so Petunia can spray ink in, as well as other giant Pacific octopus can spray ink in life or death situations, but it does take quite a while to make, so they do save it for the absolute last resort.
Awesome. All right, so we'll go to our first class. We'll go to Mrs. Hopkins' class.
Okay.
You guys have a question?
We do have a question. Olivia has a question. When the octopus comes out of the tank, can they still breathe? Because aren't they just like fish? They have to breathe in the water.
All right, so the question is, can the octopus breathe while they're out of the tank? Because they're kind of like a fish and they have to live in the water.
Very good question. So no, they do need to be under the water to breathe. However, they can kind of scooch out of the water for brief periods of time. It's not good for them, but for a minute or two, they'll be just fine. It's like holding your breath.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if you guys could hear Kat, but what she was saying is that they do need to be underwater to breathe. You're right, they are similar to a fish like that, but they can kind of get out of the water for a couple seconds. They can kind of hold their breath pretty much. It's not great for them, but they can definitely do it. It's not like Hank in Finding Dory. They do need to stay in the water.
At least stay wet.
Good question. At least stay wet, yeah.
This is Bowen's class. If you guys have a question you'd like to ask.
I'm sorry, is it our turn now? Yes, okay, go ahead. Okay, come on up, ask your question. The camera's right here, honey. Come down.
How many species of octopuses do you have?
Are there?
That's a really good question. So we only have one species of octopus at the aquarium, and that's our Giant Pacific Octopus. We have another cephalopod here at the aquarium. We have something called cuttlefish, which are kind of closely related. But we do only have the one species here at this aquarium.
Awesome question, guys. All right, so we're going to move on to Mrs. Hartman's class. Do you have a question? Yeah, Mrs. Hartman's class.
What? You can ask. You gotta say it loud.
What is the lifespan of the octopus?
That's a really good question. So the lifespan of the Giant Pacific Octopus is actually, sorry guys, this is kind of funny, so I'm going to show you. The lifespan of a Giant Pacific Octopus is really only 4 to 5 years long. Cephalopods don't live very long in general, so Giant Pacific Octopus actually live the oldest of any known species of octopus. So Petunia here is only about a year old. But yeah, they do only live about 4 or 5 years.
5 years.
Awesome.
Petunia's getting very excited.
He's getting very excited.
All right, so we can move to Mrs. Lum's class. Do you guys have a question?
How did you get
How did we get Petunia? Is that the question?
All right, so the question is, how did we get Petunia?
She actually came on an airplane and in a very big barrel that had special cold packs to keep her at the right temperature, and she was about this big when she came to us, so she was very small. But her barrel was massive.
Yeah, so our animals do come to us either on trucks or plane. Petunia got flown here in a special plane with some ice packs to keep her nice and cold.
Awesome. All right, so we'll jump to Mr. Hewley's class. All right, so what's your question, guys?
How fast did the octopus move?
How fast does the octopus what? Can you repeat one more time really loud?
How fast does the octopus move?
How fast does an octopus move? All right, thank you. That's a great question.
That's a really good question. So the question is, how fast can an octopus move?
Very, very good question. So I can't give you an actual number. Normally they crawl along very slowly, but if they need to, they can actually jet water through this little tube, which acts like a jet propulsion system, and it flies them backwards very, very quick, but only for short distances.
Awesome. All right, so now we have a question from Mrs. Kaiser's class. I don't know if you can hear me. can't see their. All right, maybe we'll come back to them after. We'll go to another Twitter question that we have. A good question. How big is their tank?
Sorry, Lucia, can you repeat that?
Yep, sure. How big is their tank was the question.
All right, Kat, do you know how big her tank is?
Very good question. This one is about 900 gallons. The exhibit tank is over 3,000. Plus, it is on a system that is much larger, so we have more water volume than her actual boxes.
A lot
Yes.
of things. And then one more from Twitter. We have, can octopus easily hurt their soft skin?
Sorry, Lucia, can you repeat that?
Can octopus easily hurt their soft skin?
The question is, can octopus easily eat or hurt their soft skin?
Yes.
Very good. Yes, they certainly can. So I have to be very careful. Any toy that I use has to be super smooth because their skin is only about 1 or 2 cells thick. It is very, very thin skin. But if they do get an injury, it does heal very quickly as well.
That's good.
All right. Get her to show off her skirt, but she's having none of that.
So we'll do another round of questions from our classes. So Mrs. Cochran's class, you guys are up first again.
Really? What do octopuses eat?
What do octopus eat?
Yes.
All right.
So octopus like to eat a lot of different type of things. They quite like clams, mussels, fish, crabs, shrimp.
Shrimp. Do you have shrimp and clam today?
Yep, shrimp and clam is what she had today, but they do eat quite a variety of foods.
Sometimes
Fish.
they try and eat cat.
Sometimes they try to eat cat. Yep.
Well, I bet cat is just delicious. All right, so we have Mrs. Bowen's class going back there for another question. Hold on.
Okay, you're good. Go ahead, ask your question.
Do octopuses split up or stay together?
Do octopuses ever stick together? That's a really good question.
No, and they've actually done studies that an octopus's suckers will not stick onto its own arms. They somehow know. But they'll like eat squid or other octopuses.
That's good, but I also think you meant do they live with other octopuses or do they often live alone?
So the octopus do usually live alone. They don't tend to hang out with other octopus. They do like to be by themselves. The only time they really kind of hang out together is mating season.
Awesome. All right, so now we'll jump to Mrs. Hartman's class again. All right, you guys have a question?
Really good question. So the question is
How long
Yeah, there you go.
So completely depends on the species and of that species. Petunia, each arm is probably about 3 to 4 feet, depending on how much she stretches it. Ivar is about 6 feet per arm, but the world record had 12-foot arms. So definitely get big.
Wow, that's impressive. All right, so go to Mrs. Lumley. Do you guys have any questions?
That's a really good question. So the question is, how big are the octopus's hearts? So octopus actually have 3 hearts, and the 2 branchial hearts are usually a little bit smaller.
One on each side, like right here. Is that where her heart is? And the third one, let's see if she'll let me show. The third one will be right there in her body. And they're only, with her, they're about the size of my thumb tip. So very, very small.
Okay.
Awesome. And then Miss Mary Keel's class, do you guys have any questions?
The question was, how many eggs can an octopus lay?
So that's a really good question. So the question is, how many eggs can an octopus lay? And it definitely can depend on their size and kind of their age. Do you know how many?
With this species, anywhere between 10,000 and 200,000. So big females, lots of eggs. I don't know if they can hear that.
It is a lot of eggs.
And then we have another question from Facebook. How big does an octopus get?
Sorry, what was that? I don't think I heard the question.
How big does an octopus get?
So it does depend on the species of them. The record for the giant Pacific octopus was each arm was 12 feet across.
So like 25
So
foot.
25 foot kind of arm span.
Wow. Beak of an octopus break. You hear me, guys?
No, sorry, I didn't hear that one.
Can the beak of an octopus break?
Can the beak of an octopus break?
Very good question. Generally not when they're alive because there's so much muscle surrounding it. We don't really talk about the muscle. The muscle's crazy. But the beak on its own is very fragile. It's kind of like fingernail material.
Ah, there you go. All right, so we'll do one more question from our remaining classes. A lot of them had to drop out. Mrs. Hartman, do you guys have one last question you'd like to ask?
Go for it, Natasha.
Okay. What was the question? Is it? Okay. How did you catch the octopus in that tank?
So the question is, how did we catch the octopus in this?
Like if I want to take her out of this tank or...
Do you mean if you want to take her out, or how we got her here originally?
How did you get it from the ocean?
How did we get her from the ocean?
So basically they just kind of sweet talked her into a net. Like, that's the best way, is to make whatever they're going into very interesting. Curiosity.
Yes, absolutely. These guys are very, very curious, so if they can kind of lure them into a net with some really cool stuff, that's kind of the easiest way that people can catch octopodes.
Now, though,
Oh, this is exciting. So Kat's just saying now she's actually bucket trained. This is her bucket. So she's actually been, over time, kind of adjusted to her bucket. It's got some nice holes in the bottom here.
she'll wander in.
Yeah, so she'll actually wander into that bucket, and when she does, I believe Kat gives her some positive reinforcement, by which I mean she gives her a nice snack.
She likes the bucket.
She really likes her bucket now. Her bucket is her friend.
All right, so Mrs. Lumley, do you guys have a final question?
Okay. The question was, will Petunia ever have babies?
Will Petunia ever have babies?
That's a really good question. So the question is, will Petunia ever have babies? And the answer to that is kind of maybe.
Complicated.
It's a bit complicated.
So they can only reproduce at one point in their life. So we would have to find her a male octopus who is at the exact same stage in his life at the same time in order to even think about having babies. So that part alone is very tricky. And then if they don't like each other, that can not be very good to watch.
Yeah, so the answer is probably not, but I mean, we're not going to give up hope.
Nothing's impossible, yeah.
All right, and then Mr. Healy's, do you guys have a final question?
Why do octopus need 8 arms?
Why do octopus need 8 arms, was the question?
Yeah.
All right.
That's a really good question. So the question is, why do octopus need 8 arms? That's a really, really good question.
I wish I could give an answer to that. No.
Yeah, so
They definitely use all 8 of them, and that's one of the reasons they're so capable of problem solving, is having these arms, and they can really work their environment, which you don't see in a lot of animals, to the extent that the octopus can. But how that happened, I have no idea.
Yeah, so really it's just over millions and millions of years. These guys managed to evolve their 8 arms that were very helpful for them, and it gave them a nice competitive advantage. And they've managed to survive and do very, very well for themselves. So these 8 arms are helpful, but we don't really know why they have 8 arms.
Do other squids and cuttlefish also have 8 arms?
So the question is, do other squid and cuttlefish also have 8 arms?
Other squid. So yes, cuttlefish have 8 arms and 2 tentacles, as do squid. So you can talk about the difference between arms and tentacles, which are different things.
Yes, so arms are what our octopus has here. You can see she's got suckers all the way along them. And for the squid and cuttlefish that have tentacles, you can tell the difference. Tentacles tend to be a little bit longer, but the actual difference is that tentacles only have these little suckers around the very, very end. So the rest of them are smooth. So that's kind of the easiest way to tell the difference between tentacles and arms.
Awesome. All right, well, that brings us to the end of our hangout today. So thanks for hanging out with us, Petunia and Grace and Pat, of course. We're going to unmute everyone's mics, and you guys can all shout farewell to Petunia and everyone at Ripley. Make sure you're nice and loud so everyone can hear you over there. We're not all far away. So nice to meet everyone.
All right, thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day. Petunia's waving. Bye, guys. I don't know how to hang up.